Hello Mitro. Today is the Republic Day and I thought it called for an episode. I thought it was a good occasion to remind ourselves what this day stands for, to reflect upon what it means to be a democratic republic, and also to remind us all about something that came into power, into effect 70 years ago today. Give me a second. This, I'm not sure if you can read it yet from there, but this book is called The Constitution of India, and this is what makes us the Republic of India. Now, we all know that India attained independence from the British rule on the 15th of August of 1947. But what exactly happened on that day? Was it like, people gathered around a flag post and hoisted the Indian tricolour and sang the national anthem? Not exactly. Or probably not only that, So what really happened was, in the British Parliament, on the 14th of August of 1947, the British Parliament passed what is known as the Government of India Act of 1947, which separated two dominions, the Dominion of India and the Dominion of Pakistan, from the British Commonwealth, and gave these dominions a certain degree of autonomy. So that's the whole meaning of a dominion. You have a certain degree of autonomy, but you have the head of the state. You have King George VI as the head of the state. And so that's exactly what happened in our case as well. But we, the people of India, wanted Purna Swaraj, and in a word, that means sovereignty. And to attain that, we needed a constitution, because back then, the law that we had was a modified version of the Government of India Act of 1935. Now, in order for us to have Purna Swaraj, we had to have a constitution, and so by the end of August 1947, we constituted what is known as the drafting committee. The job of the drafting committee was to draft the constitution, which they did in a couple of months. By November of 1947, the draft was handed over to the Constituent Assembly of India. Now, we all know that Sardar Patel and people along with him played a vital role in getting all the provinces as well as the princely states together under one roof. Right? So, to achieve that aim, all of the princely states essentially had to sign what is known as the Instrument of Accession. So that actually gave power to the Government of India, which is the central government, complete power on three things: communication, defense, and external affairs. The rest of the governance would be done by the states. That was what was planned, right? So we were already talking about federal democracy. At this point, it was also important that we had our constitution. So we said to all of the princely states, let's call this group the Government of India for now, for simplicity's sake. They said, send your members to the Constituent Assembly so that we can sit down and formulate the constitution. In the meanwhile, you guys also form your own constituent assemblies, so that when we have the model constitution ready, we could give it to you all, and you guys could sit down in your constituent assemblies and formulate your own constitution based on the Constitution of India. All of the states and all of the provinces sent their members to the Constituent Assembly of India, but only some of the states formed their own constituent assemblies. When the model constitution was ready, it was given to the states which had the constituent assemblies. Those states went through the constitution and they said, well, we do not see a reason why we should have our own constitution, so we will just go ahead and accept the Indian constitution as our constitution. Most of the states anyway said that, right? So whatever changes that these states wanted were proposed in the Constituent Assembly of India, and those changes were incorporated into the Constitution of India. By the end of November 1949, we had our draft, our constitution ready, not the draft, but the constitution ready. It was 2 handwritten books. One was English and one was Hindi. So these members of the Constituent Assembly, roughly 300 of them, 300 plus minus a few, probably 308, I suppose, not a historian, so excuse me with the numbers. All of them signed the Constitution, and a few of the provisions of the Constitution came into effect immediately, because at that time there was the partition was in progress and there was a huge flow of refugees from both sides of the border, actually East and West Pakistan and India. By January 26th of 1950, we brought the entire constitution into effect, and the president was made the head of the state, removing King George VI from the position. And that is how we transitioned from being the Dominion of India to the Republic of India. And this book is what was vital to that. Now, I think this calls for the reading of one of the most important pages of the Constitution of India, and that is the preamble. So, I know what, forget it. It says, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution." Now this is the preamble, the soul, the essence of the Constitution. What follows, which is pretty much the entire Constitution, is about how we achieve or how we uphold these values as a nation. Now, I've resolved to not give my opinion on this channel, but I'm going to make a slight deviation, a very slight deviation, and there's no promise that this would be the last one. But anyway, I'm immensely proud and happy that the demonized millennials and the not yet demonized centennials are the ones who are reading this book and taking it seriously and defending it in our own ways. Some of us use the keyboard and the camera to do it, some of us use paper and ink, some of us use our voices in schools and colleges, out there in the streets. It's great to see that we're all standing up for what defines the Republic of India. The important point to note is that in a democratic republic, nobody is above the Constitution. So, irrespective of the power of anybody, any individual or any office in the nation, nobody has the power to override the Constitution as such. Okay? And what is important for us to remember is that it is the nation that is of the people, not the other way around. It is the nation that is for the people, not the other way around. And it is a nation that is by the people, not the other way around. If you do not understand what I mean by this, go ahead and read the book called Nationalism by Rabindranath Tagore. Now, then what about changing the Constitution? What if when there is a certain party that is in power and it has complete majority, it has a mandate of the people, still the constitution as such cannot be changed. And by change, I mean altering the basic structure, because change can mean a lot of things, right? So an amendment is also a change, but that the degree of change is what matters. So there was a point in history of modern India, of independent India, where there was a party that had complete majority, not just at the center, but also in most of the states of the country, right? They had absolute majority, yet they did not have the power to change the constitution, because to change the constitution at the very base level, to change the constitution in essence, you must have a constituent assembly. The legislature cannot do it. So this is what it means when we had the constituent assembly, which finalized the constitution. Once the constitution was finalized, 2 days before the Republic Day, the first Republic Day, that 26th of January 1950, 2 days before the day, the Constituent Assembly disbanded and they formed the first parliament. So they became the legislative body, and they remained in power until the first general elections, which was in 1952. So if you want to make changes to the base, to the foundation of the constitution, you cannot do that as a legislature, irrespective of what power you hold, how much people's mandate you hold. You cannot make those changes. But does that mean that didn't happen? It did happen. It did happen during the emergency. This major change is called the 42nd Amendment to the Constitution of India, and that amendment introduced so many changes in the constitution that amendment was called the mini constitution, and many of those changes were actually unconstitutional, so to speak. So with the 44th Amendment, some of those changes were undone. Some of the changes that were okay to be were let remain. But anyway, there were a lot of safeguards put in place so that that kind of a nightmare does not happen again. But does that make the constitution bulletproof? It doesn't. And that's the beauty of democracy. One night the democracy sleeps, and that could be potentially the end of it. Okay, so it's important that democracy keeps awake all the time. And today I think I have the confidence that it will remain so for the foreseeable future, because a lot of us are waking up to the importance of the Constitution, of being a democratic republic, and like I said, we're defending the Constitution. So let us resolve today that we will understand the value of the Constitution, and we'll continue to do what we're doing today. And more importantly, let's resolve that we will not fall prey to cheap politics or propaganda or WhatsApp University for that matter. Long live the Republic of India. Jai Hind.